Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And I'm looking now at part 8 of The Doctrine of the Last Things by Dr. William Lane Craig, and it is entitled The Time of the Second Coming. And in part 7 and in part 8, Dr. Craig is attempting to sweep aside, to deal with, to mitigate all of the New Testament statements about the nearness of the second coming in the first century. Now, what's been interesting about part number 8 is that individuals from the audience have been offering their explanation of the language, and there's just such a contrast of ideas from those in the audience, ideas that Dr. Craig himself rejects. So it's very interesting, and it's more than obvious that not only does the audience, but Dr. Craig as well, struggle with those ideas. One or two individuals spoke about the near application and the far application of those time statements. And Dr. Craig agrees with that. He talks about a telescoping of the view of eschatology, and he says it is very well true, may very well be true, he says, that there was, in the events of the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70, a foreview of the second coming, that there was a sort of a playing out, as it were, of the real end. Now this view, and he calls it, by the way, he said there will be a double fulfillment. Here is the initial fulfillment in AD 70 of the coming of the Lord, and then there is an ultimate fulfillment of the coming of the Lord. Well, this is really interesting. If you can have a double fulfillment of the coming of the Lord, end of the age, judgment, resurrection, why can't you have a double fulfillment of the crucifixion, the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ? Why must one be the ultimate and the other simply be a foreshadowing? There is not one single syllable of justification for saying that AD 70 and the events surrounding the end of the age in the fall of Jerusalem at AD 70 was in fact a near application awaiting a far application. Now, in my book, AD 70, A Shadow of the Real End, ? I address in depth, in fact, there's not another book like this anywhere that I'm aware of. I address this entire issue of whether AD 70 was a type, a foreshadowing, an initial fulfillment of the real end. It is increasingly common in our religious world today, among amillennialists, among postmillennialists, and even among some dispensationalists, not many, but it is increasingly common for them to acknowledge the at-hand statements of the coming of the Lord, the at-hand, coming quickly, soon, shortly language of the end of the age, coming of the Lord, etc. And they say, well, yes, there was a fulfillment in AD 70, but we're looking for the ultimate fulfillment. Now, I have yet to see anyone offer a single verse of justification for that. Okay? But you really, really need to get a hold of this book, AD 70, A Shadow of the Real End, ? Again, there is not one syllable of proof for Dr. William Lane Craig's assertion that AD 70 was typological. Jesus said, and I develop it extensively in this book, speaking of the fall of Jerusalem, for then shall be great tribulation, such as has never been since the beginning, nor ever yet shall be. Now, if Jesus said AD 70 was going to be the worst ever, then how can we predict an event that will be greater in spades? Paul said the goal of all of the previous ages had arrived in the first century. was being delivered in the first century. These are but a few of the biblical facts that completely falsify the idea that AD 70 was simply a foreshadowing, a type, or a near application of the coming of the Lord. And finally, consider this, folks. You know what? If AD 70 was an initial fulfillment of the language of the coming of the Lord, doesn't that mean that all of those at hand, near, soon, coming quickly passages have to be taken at face value after all? Doesn't that mean when Jesus said, "This generation shall not pass until all of these things are fulfilled," that there was, in fact, the fulfillment of those things? How then do you take the fulfillment of those things in that generation and say, well, yes, there was an initial fulfillment of the at-hand language, and then turn around and pervert that imminence language into meaning, well, not at hand after all? You see the problem? Look, folks, the bottom line is that the presuppositions of the futurist world forces individuals, good Bible students, to pervert the language of the Bible, to try to dismiss it, just wave their hand. The presupposition that there is going to be an end of time, the presupposition that we have to see Jesus coming out of the sky in the 5'5" physical body of a Jewish man, is the only reason that men such as Dr. William Lane Craig seek to mitigate the overwhelming sense of imminence of the coming of the Lord, the judgment, and the resurrection in the first century. So, please, get yourself a copy of this book. The response to this book has been fantastic. I appreciate that. Go to my website, www.eschatology.org, BibleProphecy.com. Order the book. Mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping, and that'll cost you $5. Hey, thanks for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. See you on the flip side.